friend, relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
Hi, I'm Will Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching.
I apologise to everyone listening to the last episode. I couldn't find an email I wanted to read. It was on our Patreon. And because we love our patrons, after all, this is the month
Beyond 2000.
Beyond 2000. Do, 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 do.
Push it, baby.
Robot pushing you. Will and I on a swing. Could we do that? Maybe. No, we don't have time.
We don't have time.
Too busy.
Or resources.
That'll be
That's the whole
amazing.
point.
Like, oh, God. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have...
Unlimited resources to
Like-
do whatever we wanted, whenever
Yeah,
we
we need
wanted.
like Tom on the footy. Like he just
Yeah.
goes away and makes his amazing videos. It's like, why isn't one of us good at doing that?
At anything.
Yeah.
Why isn't one of us good at doing anything?
I know. I don't know.
We need a third. We need to bring in a competent third.
Well, that's why Mike the Third's a competent third, but he's busy. He's got other
Yeah,
stuff.
he's
can't
got
just do
other-
us. We need a We need an ethicist,
We need
and we need someone who can make funny videos,
maybe an ethicist who can make funny videos.
ethically funny videos.
No, keep it separate.
Okay.
So keep your ethics
So the video person
the
can
videos
go
are
hammer
absolutely
and tongs.
unethical.
Yeah, and then the
if
ethicist
anything.
comes in and goes,
Eh,
and that's
but they're
it.
the same person.
But like-
the ethicist wears glasses, smokes an imaginary like a pipe.
And the Silicon Valley CEOs, we constantly we want the ethicist because it
Yeah.
looks good, but we constantly overrule them.
Yeah.
Just get them to
But we get them to be the person who overrules. Like,
yeah, so it doesn't look bad for
Yeah.
us. Anyway, this came in from one of our patrons, Oren. I was listening to your latest bonus episode, which is now a monthly feature.
Patreon bonus episodes, one per month, beyond 2000. So we're trying to get to 2000. If you've just tuned in, if you missed last week's episode, the whole idea is that we have about 1,300 Patreon subscribers. We're trying to get that number during the month of November to
that's the Sentinel. Hang on,
Oh,
what's,
yeah.
what's a
That's
scent?
good. Yeah, that was what
sounds
I
up?
like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I'm sure people are finding this absolutely horrible to listen to.
We want to get to beyond 2000. We want to go up.
That's better. So Charlie's doing Foley
Michael
for this
Winslow.
episode. So if we can get 2,000 Patreon subscribers, we will release regular, guaranteed monthly episodes of the show. We have a bunch of incentives for the 2,000, including like some signed art, some opportunities to win free tickets to the live shows,
Commentaries on the very
Commentaries
first
on-
episode of TOFOP, maybe
on-
even more.
on the Super Pod, other
Yep.
things that like
Remastered Super
basically. If we get to 2,000, it gives us an excuse to lean into. There are enough people there on the Patreon that we can make all this extra bonus content and try to really, make like stuff we want to make for the people who really dig it and want to enjoy it. But to be able to do all that, we need to get to 2,000 during the month of November. That's what we're giving a go.
There's a
anyway.
cool name for like your hardcore fans, isn't it? Like the real ones or something. This is one for the real
The
ones.
super fans,
Yeah, no, isn't it the real ones
the real ones,
or the real heads?
the disciples,
No, the real. I think it's the real ones.
the real heads.
Who's that actor?
Yeah.
John Barenthal, the Punisher. Doesn't he have a podcast called Real Ones?
Does he?
And it's just like
Is it like Hot Ones, but they're like
no, it's just like I mean, I like him.
Uh-huh.
I think he's
The
an interesting
Punisher.
dude, the Punisher
Yeah.
guy. But I've listened to a few episodes. It's like the thing is, if you're a famous Hollywood actor,
Yeah.
like look, Smartless, great podcast, so entertaining. Those guys are so funny. But I also think that if we could get Ewan McGregor on our show,
Yeah.
and like lots of famous people, that we'd have
The
a pretty
numbers would go
successful
up.
show.
We wouldn't need to do a Patreon
I think
drive.
what we do, like, I
Yeah.
think the Smartless guys are great, but I think that you and I do a similar thing, just with like less famous people.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
I mean, so like I kind of look at John Barenthal, he's got a podcast and it's just all these famous friends of his coming on. But the angle of his is much more like aspiring to be highbrow. It's real. It's called Real Ones. And it's like, let's just be real. Let's talk like,
Well,
let's
what
just put
does
aside.
that mean?
Well, because his whole mythology about himself is that he's a tough guy, like a real life.
Oh, he's a real life
Tough guy.
The
so
Punisher was like that was
his backstory.
was he a tough guy before the Punisher?
Yes.
Okay.
So his backstory,
So he just didn't go method in the Punisher.
I can't remember. Like, but he's one of these guys who's like, it's a very kind of modern male archetype where it's like he's sensitive and artistic and creative, but he's also masculine, takes care of business, probably does jujitsu or something like that. Like I heard him talking to someone about like he's got 2 daughters and he's got them doing self-defense classes because he wants them to be able to like fight. Because I think he used to box or something like that. He studied acting in Russia. He was rubbing shoulders with some underworld. Like this is all part of his mythology. It's like, he was on the streets of Russia and knew Russian gangsters and saw some crazy shit. And like he tells
He was
some
on
story.
that train when people called Bert Kreischer the machine. He was there that
Yeah,
day.
exactly. It's a bit more, but he tells this one story about when he was back in LA after living on the main streets of Moscow. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. He lived on both.
He
Both sides of
he
the
was in
street.
Venice Beach.
Yeah.
He just he wasn't like a big star at that point, but he'd just done Night at the Museum where he played Al Capone.
Oh, yeah.
And he was down on Venice Beach and he was walking his dog and he walked past a bunch of people having drinks, like having a party on the beach. And this one drunk guy came up to him, wanted to pat his dog or whatever. And he didn't have time for it and he kept walking. And then the guy got in his face and they got into an altercation and he punched this guy.
Yeah.
And so the guy then charged him with assault.
Yeah.
And because he was on these billboards around LA, they were like, we're going to take you for everything. And then there was a very real chance he was going to go to jail for an amount of time. And so he talks about how like that was the crossroads in his life where he realized like, I can't just, I'm so tough. I can't keep punching my way through life. I can't punch life.
Yeah.
Well, you can't punch life.
Got to punch myself in the heart.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to dig deeper and work out that, I'm on that path to self-destruction. I've got to get on the fly right. And so now when he has celebs, it's like, let's get real.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, you can't punch your way through life.
I love it. I don't even know. Like the whole time you've been talking, I've been like just. I'm feeling.
You're feeling
vibes.
real, one?
I'm feeling real.
I mean, it is that.
Like as soon as you said to me, "Let's get real," I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
That's what we've never done.
Well, maybe we should
We've
get
been
real.
doing this
Let's
for
get
like-
real.
Yeah.
TOFOP gets real.
Let's get real, Charlie.
Will, you can't punch your way.
Yeah, no. No, let's just get real for a second.
All right. Okay.
What's really going on, man?
It's been a hard year.
Yeah.
I'd say this year is hard. It's been a very challenging year for a number of reasons.
Living.
Cost of living.
Yeah.
Just doing this big home renovation was incredibly stressful.
Yeah, tough time to do that.
Parenthood, work stress, uncertainty, friendships collapsing, a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. But you know what I realized is that life sucks for a long period of time. And you're like, ugh. But then it changes. But you just have to hold on until it changes. And that's the hard part, is when you're in the muck going like, okay, I remember a time when it wasn't like this. And I assume that I'll get back to that point. So right now I just have to accept that, things suck right now.
I'm in the trenches.
I'm in the trenches.
Yeah.
Which is all right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's stressful. My kid's swimming teacher, he's a really lovely guy, but when sometimes a complete stranger just like nails something that you weren't realize. He looked at me and he's gone, have you lost weight? And I was like, yeah, I've lost about like 5 kilos, not through exercise. I haven't been in the gym in about 3 months, but just through stress. And he was like, I just said yes. And he looked at me and was like, oh, I hope everything's okay. Like he just read that it was stress related.
It didn't look like
fit.
no
weight
getting
loss.
ready for summer.
No. It was just like, you look ill. You look
Yeah.
sick. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's the case.
How are your T cell counts? Is what he was saying.
Yeah. Or like if you contracted some kind of terminal
Yeah.
illness or whatever.
So you didn't take the vaccine, did you?
What's real with you?
I'm overcommitted.
Yeah.
I've been trying to read.
But you always do that. That seems to be a
Yes.
common theme.
I know. I find it hard to say no. Well, actually, that's not true. I feel like I say no all the time, and yet I'm still saying yes
overcommitted.
too often, apparently, it turns out. I think I have an optimism bias around how long things will take.
Right.
I look at today and
Somehow it'll happen.
yeah. Whereas
Take
like,
an 8-hour day,
yeah.
divide it into 2, suddenly you got 16 hours in a day. Then you take those 16 hours, you divide those in 2, suddenly you got 32 hours in a
Yeah.
day. I'm kicking your ass when it comes to productivity.
Well, I think I've been doing that, but I've been doing it wrong. Because I've been like, I'll get to that next hour, and then I've run out of day. Despite,
Take a week,
despite,
divide it in 2, you got 14 days in a week.
despite what it says in my diary with all these fancy dividings that I've been doing, I seem to be falling further and further behind.
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, in the manosphere, there is
Yeah.
this thing right now to like increase your alpha productivity.
Yeah.
You just take
Take an
time
hour.
and divide it, and
Divide
suddenly
it.
you've got more time.
You've got
Apparently,
more.
Yeah,
You just take
I wake up
1
at 5
hour
a.m.
and you divide it in half,
From
and now
5
you've got
a.m. to
2
10
hours.
a.m. I divide that into two.
Yeah.
Suddenly I've got 10 hours in the day,
Yeah.
and I'm kicking your ass. That's what it always comes down to, too.
And
They're
I'm
always like, I'm kicking your ass. I've divided. I don't know how time works, so I'm kicking your ass.
So, yes, I don't.
Well, how do you
So,
stress?
so this particular, so this will be the time when I am going through this will have passed a little by the time that people are hearing this. In that I have, particularly in this, like this last week or so, I've had so many things on, and it has just been one thing to the other. And in this next few days, I'm just looking down the barrel of Adam and I are about to start our tour, and once it's up and going, like a lot of the workload will just be fun. But obviously for the first one, there's a lot to sort of like juggle around and try to get in place and those sort of things. So that's been on we're doing Question Everything at the moment, and we're only 3 weeks into that, so I've still got quite a lot going on around that. I've been banking a whole bunch of podcasts because I've got to be away, so I've been doing all that in the live shows. We did the live philosophy at the Cheerful Earful Festival, and there's just been a lot of extra stuff on. Plus, I did all this extra radio that got thrown into the mix as well, and we've been, running, like we're running, beyond 2000. We've been doing some live shows. There's just been a bunch of
Commitments everywhere.
But I also agreed to do a corporate gig. So on Wednesday night this week, I've got to do like a corporate gig for heads of public transport from all over Australia and the world. And that's going to suck.
Yeah.
And, like one of those things where you're like, I'm going to have to prepare really hard for this to try to do a good job because it's such a mixed crowd that it'll be a bit hard to, I think everyone will be at the event, will be really fun and vibey and whatever, but it just will be a difficult thing to comedically achieve a union in the room of like what is it that I talk about that is of interest to them, and without it being, you can't just go in and phone it in. You're going to have to like do some work. And so I genuinely am like, we went to dinner last night with some friends after the show, and it was nice to do. But there's just so much of me at the moment that every time I'm in a situation like that, there's just I'm also going, I've got so many things that I need to be doing at the moment.
I had the same thought. Like, it was really lovely. We had a group of friends come to the show, and it was really nice. And we rarely get to do this. We all got to go out to dinner afterwards, had a couple of drinks, some food. And I remember, like, the whole time I was there, my mind kept racing to everything else that I've got going on. And then I sort of had to say to myself, if you can't give yourself like an hour to enjoy this, you're with your friends, you've just done the live show that went really well, then what's the point? Like, why try and do anything if you're not going to give yourself the kind of like ability to actually just sort of stop and go, oh, this is nice, like this is nice to sit with my friends and enjoy this. Otherwise, why do anything if I'm just going to tie myself up in knots?
I know, but it was one of those things where, and sometimes, because this is a fun job, but sometimes it can be a job, particularly when you're doing it in between, like I'm juggling around episodes, like, because, we have to make the show, in between the Question Everything. So I've got a lot of meetings and stuff during my week. You juggle those around. So today we do 4 podcasts. We did a live one yesterday.
Fuzz on Friday.
So I'd done a philosophy that morning with Matt Stewart.
Wow. 7
and then
podcasts.
The day before I did a TOFOP with Friends with Felicity Ward. That's 8 podcasts in like 4 days with a live one thrown in the mix. And I was meant to do a Dave Anthony TOFOP that couldn't get Riverside to work. And that's in between your jobs. It's like, but I did it myself, and I enjoy. The sad thing is, you enjoy all of the, like I enjoy doing all of the things, but by doing too many of them, you can drain the joy from any of them.
Yes, that's right. You spread yourself too thin.
Yeah,
yeah, and that's why I think like I often try and do that gratitude practice where it's like it's a mindfulness kind of thing where it's like actually stepping back from the stressful thoughts or the anxiety or whatever, and being like, oh, this is me experiencing stress and anxiety and having some kind of separation. Because for me, like, I always find that practice really hard because it's I don't know if this is the right terminology, but it's, I feel it in my body. So, my chest feels tight or, I feel anxious physically, and so that affects my thoughts. So even when I'm able to consciously step back and go, oh, this is me feeling anxious, and separate, it doesn't stop me feeling anxious. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't relieve the pain in my chest I've had a sore neck for about 3 weeks, which I think is partly due because I have 2 monitors at home, and so I'm turning my head from left to right while I'm working. But I think it's also stress related.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the telltale heart for me. It's like this until I can get through this stressful period. I think I'm just going to have this knot in my neck, which is just going to like eat away at me until until I die. It's a constant reminder. Like I was trying to sleep last night. I'm like, my neck is so sore, I can't sleep. And I feel like it's like symptomatic of everything else that's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I've been living, without permanent address for over a year now. And the last few months, I've been in an apartment where literally I've had a fridge that came, with the apartment and a bed. I have not had a couch. I didn't have a chair for the first 2 months I was there because I just didn't.
You're like the Joker.
I mean,
the original Joker.
It is like it is like because I was so busy and I've been doing so many other things. It has been an absolutely fine way to live, and I've had no other choice but to live the way that I've been living. But there is part of you that, like, sometimes it's nice to lean into. I don't have a TV. I'm going to go for a walk. I'll go to the movies. I'll go and actually do something. I'll see a play. I'll go to a show. That's great. Sometimes you're just like, be nice to sit down.
Take a seat. I can't.
I can't. I actually just can't. I don't have one. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, Will, the one thing I've learned is you can't punch your way through life.
Yeah. I mean, we got real. It was good.
Yeah, it's good. That we can get back to being unreal now. But
Yes.
it's on the topic of being real. Every time I come back to Melbourne, lately I've been staying with my sister, and she is really into, like, I don't know if this is if I've just never noticed it before, but she's on this real nostalgia kick where like she's wanting to talk about like growing up a lot and being kids, and like on Friday we went on this. She wanted to, like, we were just going to get some fish and chips from somewhere, but then we all like me and her husband and my niece, we all piled in the car, and she drove me like to where we grew up, and like we drove around all the streets, and I just realized that like I have no affection or like I don't feel any of that kind of like nostalgia, like, that's the trees I used to climb as a kid, or these are where I played football with my mates or anything. I was sort of just driving around going like, I feel nothing for this. Do you reckon that puts me in the minority, or is it like 50-50, or like, is it weird? Do you ever go back to Hayfield and be like, Hayfield, where legends were born? Do you squat in the grass, you pick up some dirt and you run it through your fingers, look around and go, I'm home?
No, I don't. Is there? I was trying to honestly process how I feel when I go back. There was a period of time where, like, I didn't have a lot of, and there was nothing bad about my, childhood in a general sense, but it just never felt like that place was for me. So I was so desperate to get out into the world and get on with my adventure. That was.
I've always been a very forward-facing
Yeah.
person. Like, I've never gone to any of my high school reunions. I kind of feel like the guys I'm still friends with from high school,
Yeah.
they're the guys I'm friends with. Like, I don't have any desire to revisit. Like, I enjoyed my time at school. I didn't have a bad time at school, but I'm not really that interested in
reflecting
on like I haven't gone to any of the reunions. I have looked at some of the photos on Facebook of the reunion parties and been like, oh, that's interesting to see what that guy looks like now. But majority of the guys, I'm like, I can't remember who that is, or if we had a class together or whatever.
I am at the level of. It was interesting. I never was. You know how like people get older, they get more interested, I think, in their family and their family history.
I think that's what my sister's going through.
I also think that I have more of a curiosity around that than I had. I don't think I was ever that interested in knowing that stuff. And now, maybe in a regretful way, I think, I wish I had like asked my grandmother or grandfather or whatever more questions about what life was like for them.
That sucked. You know what it's like getting
Shut
up
up.
at 3 a.m.?
It sucked. There's wars.
We had no
Sucked.
running water. We had to wash ourselves in a lake with a boot. You couldn't afford a brush. You washed ourselves with your great-grandfather's boot.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, probably. But I think it's one of those things as you get older, I now have a curiosity. If I were invited to a reunion, what would it be? So I'm 50. So
Well, you're about to do Adam and Will.
yeah, I mean that's there. Okay, I mean there is an element of that
nostalgia
is
to it.
nostalgic, but also it's about sort of catching up with an audience of that time. You know, you're just like, yeah, let's go back and
It's the 90s.
remember this. It's the early 2000s.
Okay. Sorry.
The 90s have just happened.
Yeah.
It's the early 2000s.
It's the era of
best bit of the
NSYNC
90s.
and new metal.
Actually, it's a great era of music. I put together a little mixtape to be played in the foyer, and I just thought I'll go back and just pick songs that have like massive, so that are from.
Oh, you got the playlist there?
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
This is from that era. So these are just songs that are from.
Is 28 Days get a...
No
Mention.
28 days on this list. These were just I was like
So
picking.
beers aren't ice cold?
I was just picking things that were from the years 2000 to 2004, and that were like big hooky, like
Yeah.
rev up songs.
Okay.
Uh,
And no 28 Days. Just want to clarify.
no 28 days. Yeah.
No Rip It Up.
No rip it up. So this will be fun. Let's see if we can play a
Okay.
little guessing game. So I think this first one will be really easy. By a band that tour Australia a lot, still tour Australia a lot. They were a
Foo
big
Fighters? No.
Triple J darlings, but they had one big song that was a hit. So
Screaming Jets.
What? No.
Mike. No,
Mike.
it's not the Screaming
Triple J,
Jets.
not
This
Triple
is
M.
Triple J, and it is the year 2000 to 2004.
Yeah, not 1994.
No.
Because
No, they're an American band.
American band.
Yep.
Big tour Australia.
Subject of a great documentary.
Oh, okay. It's Brian Jones Sound Massacre.
It is not Brian Jones Massacre.
No,
So it is therefore
a great documentary.
Yeah,
It's Dandy Warhols.
Yes, the Dandy Warhols. So the song is
Bohemian.
Like You. So big.
The only song I learnt to play on the drums when I had my drum kit for about 3 years.
There you go.
Very easy drums.
Good song. This next
Sorry.
this next one you might not. It wasn't as big a song, but it was just one of my favorite songs of that era.
Yeah.
By a band that were like an American kind of alt band. They had okay. So I'll give you Charlie Clausen style clue
Yeah.
about the name of the band.
Oh, great.
Okay, so it's about it's two things that both of us have appeared on are in the title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two things that
Yeah.
both of us have appeared on.
Yeah.
TV and radio. TV on the radio.
TV on the radio. Well done. So Wolf Like Me by TV
Yeah, that's
on the
a good
radio.
song.
Great song. All right. The clue for the next one is the war wouldn't have happened without.
The war wouldn't have happened without
Yeah.
the bomb. The war wouldn't have happened without.
It's a person's name. The band's name is a person's name.
Okay. Hitler?
It's if you're.
Oh, yes. Everyone's favourite band.
Yes.
Oh, hit. There's a hit in there? No,
but
okay. All right, Hitler.
You're in the right war zone.
Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand, Take Me Out.
Yeah, of course.
Great song, right?
Yeah.
All right, so
The war.
this one is well, this won't narrow it down yet, but the lead singer of this band got semi-cancelled, not entirely cancelled, but there was a bit of
Arcade Fire.
Arcade Fire. Good.
Did he get cancelled as well?
Yeah,
Fuck.
I mean a bit cancelled.
Yeah,
Like
right.
there was, I think, inappropriate with a fan. I think more trouble in the marriage than
Right.
trouble in the
Messaging
broader.
someone.
But there was definitely something.
Misuse of a position of power.
Yeah, I don't know the details.
Power
but
dynamics, yeah.
something a bit sus,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever it was. Wake Up by Arcade Fire.
Yeah.
Great song. This one is hip hop.
Yes. Australian hip hop.
No, American hip hop.
Okay. Established artist
yes.
alt hip hop or mainstream.
Had mainstream crossover. This particular track of theirs was their biggest ever.
Oh.
And was a massive mainstream crossover act.
Okay.
Two main
Rappers?
collaborators.
Collaborators.
Yes, rappers.
Both rappers. Okay. Are they known as a duo? Is the rap is it the duo or is it like a
they are
band
known
name?
as a duo, but also known individually. But they were known probably first people got to know them from this duo, and then they both had their solo careers in all sorts of music.
This is what an intriguing. Is it Outcast?
Yes.
Hey Ya.
Hey Ya by
great
Outkast.
song.
Yeah, great song, right?
A great song.
Okay.
A classic. I would.
These are like a bunch of these are pretty like songs that you hear a lot still. All right. This one is absolutely a classic. As big a song as there was from that entire era.
The Verve, Bittersweet Symphony. No.
I'm going to say this song is even more iconically bigger song than that, I would say. American band.
Oh.
They were... they're no longer together, the band, but one of them performs still very often. He's coming to Australia at the end of the year.
Okay. Bryan Adams.
Wrote... This one will give it away, but wrote the hook for this song at the Corner Hotel in Richmond.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
American band.
And this is one of the most iconic hooks of a song in history of rock hooks.
Okay. Shit. That makes me feel like I should know it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
definitely know it. Okay.
You would definitely know it. If you've ever been to a sporting event, you've probably heard people...
Dropkick Murphys shipping up to Boston?
No.
Okay.
But that's
Okay.
that's
in
pretty...
the ballpark. It's not Eminem.
Bigger...
Lose Yourself? No.
As big.
Okay, so I'm thinking sporting
songs.
songs.
If you've been to a sporting event, you've heard people...
Well, it's definitely shipping up to Boston.
This.
It's definitely...
Yeah.
What would it be? American band.
American band.
And they chant this.
Yeah.
They say... Who let the dogs out? Give me another clue. I'm going to kick myself, aren't I? And kill myself. I'm going to kick myself to death.
I think...
With the boot that your grandfather used to wash himself because they couldn't afford a cloth.
I once kicked myself to death. Let's get real.
I'm going. Will, you can't kick your way through life.
Just can't kick your way through everything, man. But if you were going to fight someone off, this song would be helpful.
Yeah, because it's kung fu fighting. What the fuck is it? Chop suey. Chop suey.
It's something that you would need to go to war. We mentioned friends.
A gun.
What else would you need to go to war?
A helmet.
What would be really handy if you were going to war?
A bomb.
What would
a
you
grenade?
Need?
A bulletproof vest. A knife. A gun.
If you're going to war against
gruel.
Somewhere between 6 to 8 nations.
Seven nation army.
Yeah.
Is that big at sporting events? Dum, dum, dum,
yeah.
Dum, dum.
Yeah. Have you never seen the crowds chanting?
No. What do they chant?
Literally the hook.
Just the hook.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. They
right.
sing it as a All right.
What do you think of Jack White? Do you think he's all right or do you think he's a douche?
Don't know.
There's some documentary I remember seeing. It's like all about electric guitars or music or something. And the opening scene is him making his own guitar. He puts together a bit of plywood.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting cat.
Yeah. But he's so pretentious about it. I was like, I can't watch the rest of this documentary. He's like, that's fucking rock and roll, man. I'm like, you built a guitar out of
But he does do a lot of that stuff. And
he hates posers.
And yet kind of has blue hair or
and he's a poser.
As a poser. But he's an amazing musician.
Yeah.
The latest White Stripes, Jack White album is fucking great. It's sounds like the White Stripes. All right. Again, this one is almost
These are all bangers. You're right.
right. This is almost as big a rock song.
Okay.
Another big, like in the vein of the White Stripes, American
Okay.
band.
Okay. I was going to say the Hives.
This was
No.
number one
Tick,
in the
Tick,
Triple J
Boom.
Hottest 100.
American band, Hottest 100.
Yeah. Still tour, still quite successful. Have not toured recently because of some trouble with the lead singer, I believe.
Oh, no. Cancelled.
No, I think
drugs.
he's had some.
Oh, it's yeah. It's the Strokes.
no, it's not the Strokes.
Oh, okay. It's
It's interesting that the Royals are visiting Australia at the moment.
it's Queen Latifah.
Queen.
Queen. It's Queen. Queen. Freddie Mercury's back. No, it's Queen as the Stone Age. Oh, what's he done? Not Josh.
He's got some alcohol or drugs
Oh,
or something
God.
or something.
He did. Yeah, he's been in
There
trouble
was a
for
bit of trouble.
Didn't he like kick a
Either a
photographer
fan or a
or
photographer
Yeah,
or-
something. Yeah.
I don't know.
He apologised
It's
for
been
that.
yeah, but there's
Yeah.
been.
Oh,
I think
that's
it's a bit
no
of
good.
trouble at the
Josh
moment.
Homme.
Anyway, good band.
Their coke dealer used to deal coke to George Bush.
Is that right?
I heard him say in an interview on Triple J back probably when you were on Triple J.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're asking him, "What are you feeling on
Yeah.
US politics?" And he's like, "Our coke dealer used to sell coke to George Bush. What a joke!"
No one knows.
That's
by
a great,
Queens
another
of the
great
Stone
song
Age.
with a
You all right?
fantastic drum solo by Dave Grohl, who's
how-
also in trouble as
Oh,
well.
yeah, that's true.
Or never have heroes. Let's get real, Will.
Sadly, Dave Grohl, some people now know.
Yeah.
There might have been a period where no one knows, but everyone knows now, mate. The next one is about if you were at a barbecue and you ate a sausage and it was too hot.
Yeah.
It might result in this.
Mouth burns,
Yeah.
burning mouth, burning man, burning tongue, flaming lips.
The flaming lips, exactly. Yoshimi battles the pink robot.
Yeah.
Flaming lips.
They're touring next year too.
They are. I've got tickets to
Me
that,
too.
actually. All right. So this one was released
Flaming
right
lips.
at the end of.
You're never going to get flaming lips from eating a hot sausage. Like, for that to happen, the fat would have to be on fire on the sausage and then would have to set fire to the fat within your lips.
Yep.
There's no way you're getting flaming lips from eating a hot sausage.
Okay, all right. But you got the
If you're an
clue
ethicist,
word. This one was right at the start of 2005, end of 2004.
if you were to kiss
on
the Human
cusp.
Torch, you would get flaming lips.
Yeah, that is a better clue. Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. So, if Alf Stewart
Yep.
needed to describe your lips, and he thought that they were, if someone had left their lips at the surf club, and Alf Stewart came in
And was
say-
annoyed.
he said,
come
"Who
get your
left these
flaming-"
flaming lips." All right, this is by it's a side project.
If Alf Stewart had to describe Mick Jagger to someone and they said, what's his most defining feature?
His flaming lips. This is a spin-off project of a guy who was in a very successful band.
Okay.
But this spin-off project has also been very successful. Gorillaz, correct. I feel good.
Clint Eastwood. Oh, okay.
This one was a comeback single for a band that had been big in the 80s and 90s more.
Okay. The Cure?
They had an earlier lead singer and then had to replace them because they died.
Not in excess. It's not Pretty Vegas.
No, it's not Pretty Vegas.
AC/DC?
An interesting quirk, I believe this is true, is that in the film clip, so in the film
You
clip,
said their lead singer had died? Or
yeah,
just a
but
band
that was
member?
years ago,
Okay.
and then they went on.
Oh,
without
Oh,
them.
no.
So in the film clip, it was a bunch of hot young kind of models, and people thought that was the band who didn't know this band from back in the day. They thought this band in the video clip was
Hot female models or hot male models?
male models.
Okay,
They
right.
thought the band was
Okay,
the people
yeah.
playing, because that's what it was. It was a film clip that looked like they were the band playing the
Yeah,
song,
yeah.
but It was not that band. I believe this is true that the band in that film clip are called the Killers, and that's where the band the Killers got their name
right.
from. I
That's
believe
clever.
that is true.
Don't know who this band is. English, American.
They are English.
Let's see. Oh, so it's Happy Mondays, New Order. New Order.
New Order, Crystal by New Order.
That's a good clue.
All right. What are your favourite bands of the era?
Weezer.
Yes.
It would have to be Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly by Weezer.
Yeah.
Good era of music.
It was. It's really good. I'd listen to this soundtrack.
Okay. Maybe you need like bit more like a chilled like track.
Who are you going for? Moby? No. No.
well, like-
Groove Armada? No.
Well, I mean, not quite
Not
chill,
electronic.
a bit more electronic as
Oh,
well.
it is electronic?
Yeah, electronic.
Who would something electronic that you like? You would like. So it's not dancey. It's more like
I mean, this is
ambient,
like a bit
Chemical
dancing.
Brothers.
It's in that zone. Who's the other one of that era?
Yeah.
Who's the other
Chemical
Brothers
and Groove Armada, and there was another one.
very famous. These are iconically.
Fat Boy Slim.
Oh, actually, no. There is a Fatboy Slim on here, but that not
Okay.
Fatboy Slim. But yes, as big as Fatboy Slim.
All right. Okay, it's easy, man. It's got to be old.
Yeah. If you
Not
met,
Moby, not Fat Boy Slim.
if you met the dumbest guy from the Sex Pistols,
Like, okay,
yeah,
dumbest guy from the Sex Pistols.
you'd be like meeting a
Dumb pistol, a dumb sex, dumb pistol, dumpy pistol, dumb
what were
dumb gun.
What were
dumb
the Sex Pistols?
punks, dumb punk, a daft punk. oh my god, that's a really good clue. Very good. You're right. That makes sense. Daft Punk.
One More Time by Daft Punk.
Awesome.
Great song.
Great song.
You mentioned this band earlier.
System
In
of a
regard to
Down.
lead singers.
Dying.
Yep, but they didn't. But you mentioned like when we were talking lead
I
singers
asked-
before. You said
Did this person die?
anyway, it was the Strokes last
Oh,
night. By
okay.
the Strokes.
Oh, yeah. He was
Um,
because I saw him at Splendor a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, and he seemed quite troubled.
Yeah. If you broke out in a rash every time you saw this band,
I'd be rashy. I'd be.
if you knew you broke out in a rash every time you saw this band, but you went and saw them anyway, what would I say to you?
Don't see this band. Yeah, get some Sorbeline. Savlon. If you broke out in a rash every time you saw this band, rash. Don't rash. Is rash in the title?
No. It's but there is the name of the band is a
It's like
type of
measles,
rash.
shingles,
Something you might break out
eczema, pimples, acne, hives. The hives.
the
Okay,
hives.
thank you.
in. Hate to say I told you so.
Yeah, ironically.
This band was mentioned. This rap outfit mentioned earlier. There's another Miss Jackson by Outcast is on here as well. Okay. So an Australian hip hop. An Australian electronic group
Cut copy.
before Cut Copy. I reckon.
Preset? No, they came after.
I reckon before Presets even.
Pendulum?
Not Pendulum. No.
Oh, I'm not really great. Flight facilities? I don't really know.
Okay. So if
Avalanches.
yep.
Yep.
Frontier Psychiatrist.
Of course.
by the Avalanches. If you agreed with the order that I've put these songs in,
Yeah.
you might say this.
Good list. I concur.
One of my favourite bands.
Australian? No, American.
English.
I agree with a Radiohead. How does that fit into this? Radiohead.
Radiohead.
Why would I say that?
Everything in its right place.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The song is
Sorry.
okay.
Okay. Hip hop artist. Not from Australia, not from America, not from England. If I say where he's from, immediately you will know exactly who I'm talking
Oh,
about.
it's Informer by Snow. Oh, no, he's Canadian. Isn't he? Shaggy. He's Jamaican.
Same sort of one-hit wonder. Really.
It's Scribe.
Scribe, not many by Scribe. Great song, though.
That is an absolute classic.
Another hip-hop act. Now, this is like one of the most iconically famous hip-hop groups of all time.
Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys. Check it out.
Check it out. Which was the original theme for TOFOP, episode 1, which you can
These are all within this period.
hear commentated
2000
on.
to 2004. This is so many good songs.
Yeah, so many good songs.
Another hip-hop song then. Australian.
Hilltop Hoods.
Hilltop Hoods.
Friday Night Footy. Nosebleed section.
Nosebleed section, correct. Well done.
Friday Night Footy.
Another Australian band. They would not.
Powderfinger.
This is a
Regurgitator.
This is a name of a band.
Paul
that
Kelly.
Probably, if you were naming your band today, you would not call your band this.
She had. No.
I mean, they did have to change their name, so that's not a bad guess. But no,
Abortion.
they're from Western Australia. Yes, Abortion from Western Australia.
Eskimo Joe.
Jebediah.
Eskimo Joe.
Why would you not call your band Jebediah? Unless you've just become like Amish or something.
It was, of course, Eskimo Joe from the Sea. Oh, I like this song. This is a great song from this era. Don't know why this band isn't, like some bands like a Franz Ferdinand or whatever, you hear them still played all the time. I think this band is equally as good as any of those bands, but you don't quite. I think it's because maybe people see them as being a bit sort of gossy, emo-y, ironically, they used to do a lot of gigs they were very much influenced by The Cure, despite the fact that the name of their band would imply the opposite.
Disease, some kind of sickness, disease, The Cure, the illness, what were they from?
They were English. I believe.
Another one. It's Placebo.
Placebo, The Bitter End. Great song.
Yeah. Whatever happened to Placebo?
That's what I mean,
band.
right? They
Yeah.
should. But why are Placebo not huge still?
Yeah.
Maybe they
it does,
are,
but it does have a very dated sound. There's something about.
But I listened back to some of it, like when I was putting this list together, and I was like, "This is still fucking good." They were a good band, Placebo. I saw them live a bunch of times. They were also a very good live band.
Are they still around?
I don't know. All right, I'm nearly done on my list here. But Baby, I've Got You on My Mind by Powderfinger. So, do you remember this? There's a couple here that I'm like, do you remember these bands? So, do you remember Black Rebel Motorcycle Club?
Yes.
They had
I
a
remember
great
the name.
song
I don't
called
remember the
Whatever
song.
Happened to My Rock and Roll, which
Okay.
is very good. So now this one is like where it gets interesting because this was, I think, number one in the Triple J Hottest 100 or very close. Huge song at the time. I think the lead singer had some troubles and they never, but it was that era, where Jet had happened and this band also happened.
Oh, the Vines.
The Vines. Get Free by
That
the
was
Vines,
like
which is such a great
the
song.
hype around the Vines.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything come and go as quickly. That was like the Gabbo is coming. Like we all knew about the Vines before they arrived.
And
So
that
the Vines
song,
are coming.
Get Free, was like,
Yeah, and we all heard it.
amazing.
We're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, these guys
are the best
huge.
ever.
And then it was over.
Yeah.
Before we'd even.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Dirty Jeans by Magic Dirt, Right Here, Right Now by Fatboy Slim. It's just like a great era
That's a great
of
playlist.
music.
And I feel like that's all I listen to these days. Is like someone like when I did the because as I said in the previous episode, so I'm going to try and do it every Friday night. I do a live stream where people can.
And so
just-
what is it?
So basically, it's a beta function that Patreon have
'Cause you're a
introduced.
beta cuck.
That's right, because I'm a beta cuck. Where it's the ability that you can just live stream from your Patreon account, so people can log in and they can listen along and they can message, and so it's this interactive.
Just listening?
Just listening, yeah.
Yeah.
They can't. It's audio only. So
So you're basically talking,
yeah.
and then people can like
Message me,
you.
and we can have chats about stuff. So
Okay.
Patreon just only, brought me into it, or made me aware of it about 2 weeks ago. And so I just put a message on Patreon saying, hey, if anyone's around on Friday, I want to test out this new thing. I don't know if it's going to work or be any good. And so I did it, and it was heaps of fun. Like I just talked about stuff. People asked questions. I can't remember what. Oh, people. We started. There's a lot of music recommendations actually at one point, and people started like putting forth their favorite. It was a really fun little. We just did it for like half an hour. And so I said, oh, we'll do it again next week, but then I completely forgot I was going to be in Melbourne to do the live show. So I'll definitely do one again next Friday, but I'd like to make it, I really enjoyed it just for my own sake. It was kind of like fun. And I think it's a really good way to just kind of, add value to Patreon as well, as you get a little mini live stream on a Friday evening. Do it a bit later so people in the UK and stuff can join in as well.
It's a great idea.
We started this episode by reading a letter that we never got to. So should we get back to the letter from Oren? I was listening to your latest pods, and then I was really reminded why I love the podcast. This is going to become a bit will heavy. So let me just start by saying, I love how open you are, Charlie, and how much of your own life you bring to the pods. It would not bring me back listening each week for the last 10 years without those details and feelings of friendship with the personal stories and life, the personal life story. Without the friendship, the personal life stories nurture. Sorry, excuse me. Now, on to Will. Your take on how AI will actually push artists and further the medium and how Twitter changed your art is a kind of deeper thinking that I love, and why I listened to the first 100 episodes of Willosophy as your deeper thoughts and opinions came out with guests you were closer with and shared more in common with. When you get into your thoughts and philosophies, it always feels very genuine and thought out, which is something I find lacking in many parts of life, especially when it comes to politics and entertainment. Ultimately, when you two are together, the much more free-form and natural feeling format of TOFOP will always be my favourite. But let me close with a hypothetical. What if the pod is actually a less gritty reboot of Airplane, or Flying High, as we call it in Australia? Will is constantly quitting one thing or another, alcohol, social media, I think possibly weed for a few months somewhere, and you both have great banter, and I could see some fighting over the use of a white zone. I don't know, what's that in Flying High? I don't know. I know in the older days you two would speculate over gritty reboots of things, but what if you did less gritty reboots? Take out the jokes that are in poor taste by today's standards and poorer treatment of women and minorities. If each of you had to take a dated movie that still had a good premise or story behind it and make it less gritty, or I guess less problematic, what would that be? So is there a film that like Porky's or American Pie?
I mean,
or whatever?
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Yes, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because most of that movie is great.
Or the big twist is...
But the big twist is fucking awful.
Yeah.
Like, by today's and should have been at the time. Like by I just like that's one of those ones where you just like, well, I just can't enjoy this. Whereas like, I think is that's just the one that immediately springs to mind. I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones too. Where
Totally.
like,
well, every sex comedy,
Yeah.
like where it's about spying on a girl, getting changed or whatever, like American Pie, I was thinking about that the other day, and it's like the big set piece of that is them filming a girl and broadcasting it to the entire school. And then him going in to have sex with her in front of the entire school. Like, that is incredibly problematic. Like, it's so... I remember at the time when that film came out, like, they were talking about it on the panel. And the Working Dog guys were like, it's kind of weird, isn't it, that this is, like, the number one comedy in the world where basically this girl is being sexually assaulted and it's, like, entertaining for everyone. It's like, oh, yeah. Like, attitudes of that have changed. So if you were to do a sex comedy now, which I think they're kind of done, there's a great modern take on... that sort of teen sex comedy called Blockers with John Cena. Have you seen that?
I've not seen it.
It's
no.
really, really funny. And it's very like sex positive, but it's also from equal points of view. It's not just from the male gaze. It's also from like female sexual desire and what the girls in this situation want. And also like the parents' point of view as well. So I think you would sort of have to revisit all those things and just, I mean, Kevin Smith has talked about Chasing Amy, like, Chasing Amy is probably like one of my favorite Kevin Smith films, but it's really from the perspective of a straight white guy, and him coming to terms with a woman's bisexuality. Like, and he sort of admitted that if he was to remake that film, it wouldn't be from Holden's perspective, it would be from Amy's perspective because it's her story, really.
Right. And I think that, I mean...
But is there any point in revisiting those things, or do we just let them exist in the time in which they were made?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think this is something that AI will probably do, right? Like you will that like you can imagine, for example, there's often religious websites that publish here's a version of this book that doesn't have the witchcraft or the
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. It's
About
just
the
the
good
kid
bits.
who lives there
Yeah, he
under
lives
the
in a
stairs,
cupboard, which is
Yeah,
good.
Which is good
Because he
And
didn't pray
should.
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's got a scar, which is the mark of the devil.
Yeah.
The end. the Harry Potter masturbated, so we locked him under the stairs.
Good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Say 7 Hail Marys and you can
Yeah.
come out again.
so. I think that there would be, films that are edited in a way, that they can be PG or family friendly or whatever it might be. In that same way that you could do that, is there a use for AI to be able to go, this story isn't interesting enough to exist as a historical document? As in, like, we shouldn't be encouraging people to watch it because it tells us something about the times, other than the times were a bit gross and we should have known better. But you could still enjoy most of it without, I don't know, like it's hard, isn't it? Because once you start doing that, then you're like, are you kind of ignoring the fact that we were like that just 20 years ago or 30 years ago? Isn't it better for us to be constantly reminded when we watch something like because that was my emotion when I watched it again, whenever I watched it
Ace
again.
Ventura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was like, oh,
I missed
I
this.
remember
Yeah.
like really liking this film and
Yeah.
not in any way like
It was funny, actually. I rewatched one of my favorite kind of guilty pleasure films is always Hot Tub Time Machine. And I think on this podcast, I stood up for Hot Tub Time Machine lots. And then I watched it again recently and it's like, there are so many gay jokes in it.
Yeah.
That I missed the first time round. And I guess that was 14 years old now, but things move on so quick that I was like, oh no, that's not how I remember. I remember to really enjoy it and think it was really funny, but it's like, yeah, it relies a lot on like gay jokes.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like even great comedy though, like as in like stand-up comedy, often you'll watch something and just think, wow, like that take was only 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
I watched this really interesting. It wasn't an interview with him, but it was a thing on Howard Stern and talking about like his big kind of image makeover. That he was the shock jock and blah blah blah, and he kind of consciously made this decision and has a lot of embarrassment about the way he built his career. Like the things he did, the people he exploited, and he fully admits that it was really exploitative and it was driven by ego and all this kind of stuff. But like, how do you reconcile that with you're in this very privileged position now where you're interviewing Kamala Harris on your show and all that kind of stuff, but to get to that point, you sort of like had to use and exploit a whole bunch of people to get to that spot. And so you do the mea culpa, which is like, that's not who I am anymore.
I'm sorry, I'm not giving back the stuff.
Oh, but I'm not giving back the stuff. I mean, we haven't done that, but like there's stuff I'm sure in the early episodes that we'd be like, oh, that's cringy. We don't want to hear that again.
Absolutely. And not just the earlier episodes. There are, ways in which the world has changed so quickly in the way that we understand it, like at least by our standards, like, that, I mean, having done something for, nearly 15 years, the world's changed so much in that nearly 15 years.
Yeah. And we were also young men.
Yes.
And now we're old men.
I know. That's how long we've been doing this.
I know.
We did it when we were young and now we're old.
One thing I learned, Will, is you can't punch your way through life.
I can't punch my way through a fucking paper bag.
A wet one. You know what hasn't changed though, Will, is our favourite segment.
Crack the sack.
Crack that sack.
Pimp that the biscuit.
Simp
Simp
biscuit.
the biscuit.
Simp biscuit,
Simp biscuit.
What? Simp biscuit, biscuit. Now,
Yes.
I've brought in,
Oh, great. Here we go.
we've had so many recommendations for this brand of biscuit. This is Cookers.
Yeah. Oh, this is the Cookers.
This is Cookers. Now,
Yes.
I had the choice of either Cookers lemon jam ones or I decided, because I'm not really into citrus, I went with choc raspberry. So we're going to sample
Okay.
the Cookers Choc Raspberry, which is basically, from the looks of things, it's like a shortbread biscuit.
Yeah.
With jam filling.
And again, like Kookaburra, not Cookers.
Not Cooker as in anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. The taste.
All right, I'm going to have a crack. You keep.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to give you a little description because I do love the packaging here. This is what I like when we're cracking an actual pack, is we get a little bit of the description and stuff as well. So, Cookers Country Cookies. There is a Kookaburra who is like flying, holding one of the cookies, which isn't probably the most hygienic way to deliver a cookie, to be honest. But they are made in Australia, proudly made in Australia. They are known as the taste of country Australia. And so Cookers, with a possessive apostrophe, belonging to one cooker rather than all cookers. Cookers Country Cookies.
All right.
The taste of country Australia.
You take a bite,
All right.
and let me just share my thoughts. They ain't lying. That is definitely the taste of. I feel like I've just been at a CWA cake stall, and I bought myself. I paid $2. I got one of these off a plate from a lovely old lady. It tastes like country Australia. Like that is. Now, whether or not that's a good thing, I'm kind of debating. I was wrong. It's not a shortbread. It's kind of a softer biscuit, more kind of in line with what you'd get in a chocolate royale. What do you call it? A chocolate royal or something like that. It's just like a softer. I don't know how would you describe that vanilla biscuit. Chocolate's good. Dark chocolate, raspberry is quite tasty. I think it's good. This is a good, serviceable, have with a cup of tea biscuit. But it makes me think of grandma's. Like if you were to catch up with your nan, this is the kind of biscuit you'd expect, right?
Also a bit wagon wheelie,
Yeah.
maybe.
Good though.
Are there different shapes?
They are. Yep. Oh, yeah, there are. So some are circular and some are rectangular. I didn't notice that. Well picked up.
I mean, interesting.
I think this is a solid B to B plus for me. Like, I have no desire to eat any more, but I appreciate it for what it is. And I think that they are 100% accurate in the way they represent themselves. It is, when you look at the packaging, it's a bit sort of like naff and toy, but they say they're the taste of country Australia, and I think that's accurate.
I mean, even just the fact that they are random shapes and sizes, they're not uniform. Like, you open up that packet, if you put those on a plate, you could almost
Say you made them.
Say you're going to like cricket.
Yeah.
You're popping down to cricket. You forgot. Oh, it's our home team this week. We're meant to be bringing like afternoon tea. If you put a bunch of those on a plate and put some clear plastic over the top of it, it looked like you could.
That's
say
what I'm
that
saying.
You made those.
Like if you went to if you go to any country stall, like cake stall,
you have to go down to your local council to have like a meeting with a guy about some planning permission. Yeah, and he says, you know what? You need a biscuit with that cup of tea?
You want a bicky?
And he gave you one of those. Yeah. They're a bit fancy. Got the chocolate and the jam.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that if you went into the staff room of a country primary school, I reckon these are the top shelf biscuits.
Yeah, I reckon that's right. Top shelf for a place
the
that can't have
the principals.
Yeah, the principal. If you're doing a meeting in the principal's office, you get the cookers, country cookies.
And I quite like if I'm going to get a bit sort of more sort of a critique is the actual choc and raspberry combo is really good. Dark chocolate and raspberry can often they can stuff it up by making the raspberry too sweet, but it's just a tart raspberry with quite a bit of chocolate, and I think the effect is offset by the sweetness of the biscuit. I think I'm going to give it a B plus. I'm going to lock in the B plus. What are you giving it?
It gives me the flavour that I want when I eat a wagon wheel and never get.
Oh.
Like there's something about the combination that they've got there of the jam and the chocolate that I find very rewarding.
Is it the thickness of the biscuit? Is that maybe what you're missing out on? Because it's definitely thicker than a...
Yeah, I think maybe there is that. Like I'm gonna... What did you say? A B plus?
A B plus.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Don't think it's a B plus for me, but I would say very good, solid B.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. I think it hovers around there. It's not by no means mediocre, but it's no groundbreaking.
No. For what it is.
Yeah.
I think,
I think we are grading it on a scale because it's Australian. I think there's a bit of like, it's Australia, mate. Yeah. Like if we were a foreigner, that's what we need. Is a foreign.
If a foreigner came in here and tried one of the,
like I reckon American would fucking hate it.
Like,
what is this? These cookies are. There's something wrong with these cookies. Yeah. Oh God. Oh God. I've sick to my stomach and I can no longer finish this cookie. Get out of here, American. We don't even like you. Go wash yourself with a boot in a lake like Will's great-great-grandfather. Let's finish off with a couple of biscuit recommends. These are all flying. We may get to these at some point. Hey, guys, love Crack the Pack. Can you please give us a heads up on the biscuits you're going to be sampling in the next episode to give us a chance to play along? Yes, that's something that I forwarded on to Mike. So he'll put that in the episode description. So if you want to play along, just read the episode description before you listen to the episode. So
also, maybe we should, like, in the future, this is not for,
This
beyond
record.
2000.
Yeah.
But maybe we should be like, there should be an opportunity for Patreon subscribers to, like, really suggest, like,
Oh, yeah, they put their bit, they get, it's like the super PAC. They get to.
That's right. They get
the lobbyists.
Crack the super PAC.
Yeah, with some
The
biscuits.
super PAC Crack the Pack committee.
Cal says, hey guys, Jaffa Cakes, not biscuits. I heard you refer to Jaffa Cakes as biscuits. They're definitely cakes, not biscuits. This has been determined by a court of law. I wasn't aware that there was the people versus Jaffa Cakes.
Okay.
The precedent established there. And this is from...
They're a bad cake if they're cakes, though, Jaffa Cakes.
I don't think I've ever had a Jaffa. I'm not into citrus anything.
But they're bad Jaffa Cakes.
This is from Aiden. Hey guys, love and Crack the Pack. Wanted to write in with recommendation. I work in a small office with two very close friends, and whenever we are looking to add a treat to the day, someone will come in with a pack of Arnott's chocolate Scotch fingers.
Oh, yeah.
They are fantastic. Not too much, but a great pick-me-up, a classic biscuit with a twist, and worth cracking a pack. Yeah, I am a big fan of the shortbread chocolate. They do it very well, but it's one of those ones where, like, you can only have one, I reckon, because then the shortbread is so rich. I think once you go into two, then you start feeling queasy.
I'm happy for us to explore, like, an Arnott's variety pack or something at some
I
stage
thought
and see
that
if we
was
can do,
something
like,
we just work our way around. I think, but that's got to be like we do it over 2 episodes, so we have like 3 or 4, because there's like 8 biscuits in a.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll do
I think
more
over
than one
a
in an
4,
episode.
we could do, like, over a 4 episode record day.
Yeah,
We could, like, do 2 per episode.
I mean, off the top of my head, I think Monte Carlo is going to be my favorite without even trying them all. Do you have a top of your head recognize?
Oh, man, probably, right? But I don't know. I'll be interested to revisit and see how I feel.
Well, you've not had one recently?
No.
I was doing. I was in it. I was in this writer's room a few weeks ago, and the communal kind of kitchen area. There's a lot of biscuit eating going on because I noticed the biscuit jar in the kitchen was getting refilled pretty much daily. But the only biscuits that would never get eaten were those fucking orange ones from the family assortment.
I like an orange.
Well, you would have been on cloud 9 because, like, the whole pack would get smashed.
Orange cream.
The orange creams would just keep filling up. It's
Yeah.
like,
I'm into an orange cream.
really?
I'll take those orange creams off your hand.
Now, this is just one last little thing we should probably finish on. Crack the Pack related. So this is sent in by Peter. Guardian, encroaching in our territory.
Oh, mate. Hey, Mr. Handy did, like, a biscuit segment as well.
What?
Yeah, mate. Everyone's talking about what the best biscuit is.
Australian supermarket choc chip biscuit taste test, the best and the worst.
Mate, this is like the crumble cookie saga's been going on for 2 weeks. Like,
What?
You're not familiar with the crumble cookie
I don't
saga?
know about anything. What's
Oh,
the
okay,
crumble?
I'll give you a quick overview of the crumble cookie saga. So, there is an online brand, an American brand called Crumble that are very no E. So Crumble.
Yeah.
So they're very popular online. They have this pink branding, very popular cookies. They retail for about $7.50 in America per cookie. They're like the overloaded style cookies. There was a social media about an Australian pop-up of this brand. Everyone was very excited. Influencers, it was in North Bondi, influencers around the block. 3-hour line
Oh my God.
to buy one of these cookies at this pop-up, right? They were charging $17.50
A cookie.
per cookie.
Wow. Genius.
So, everyone, all these influencers, tried the cookies, these world-famous cookies from this pop-up, and they start to be a little just not that excited about, like, these cookies that are meant to be so amazing. To the point where it comes to the attention of Crumble, the American cookie organization, who are like, yeah, hey,
That's not us.
that's not us.
Oh, wow.
This is not us. We're not doing a pop up in Australia. Turns out what it was a couple of local entrepreneurs
Smart.
who had done a little research into parallel imports and what you can do, and then they had popped over to Hawaii, the closest American branch of Crumble cookies, loaded up the suitcase full of Crumble cookies, and just brought them back to Australia, and then just put together this little pop-up and charged everybody for these cookies that were just bought over the counter and brought back in their suitcase.
Is that legal? Can you do that?
Well, apparently they broke no laws in the copyright of it. You can resell the products and blah, blah,
Yeah, of
blah.
course. Retail.
But I don't know about the importing.
right.
Like, as in like...
You have to pay an import tax. or
Yeah,
something.
and are you just allowed to bring that? Like with...
But they advertise it as a Crumble event.
Yeah. And so...
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, turns out it was a kid. So it's a year 10, I believe, kid and his brother from the eastern suburbs of Sydney.
We need to monitor this kid immediately.
But also buy stocks in him because this kid's going to do something
entrepreneur.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
He'll own the Candy Mansion. He'll be the next Lambo guy. Something's going on with this kid, right? But total
How
eastern
did he get to
suburbs
America? How did he get to
with
Hawaii?
the parents? They all went
right.
to Hawaii. He's basically
He got his parents up to it.
Yeah,
We're going to keep eyes on this kid.
He's amazing, right? So there's been people have wanted to sue. There's been fallout. There've been blah blah blah. This story ran in the Australian media for weeks, to the point where the CEO of Crumble in the US has gone, well, here's an opportunity for us. Flown to Australia, done the media rounds, has promised to open an actual Crumble in Australia now off the back of all this. So there's been
It's a win-win.
the news is obsessed with people eating cookies and biscuits, and I believe
It's us.
when we first started doing this segment, there were doubters. People were like, why do you want to, we don't want to hear about people eating a cookie every week.
Imagine if we are it happened with Richmondy as well.
Yeah.
We come up with a thing that catches fire in the mainstream, but we are never credited for it. It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone or something. It's like, well, you'll get to be some of the most biggest cultural in the world, but no one will ever know. And you'll never profit from it, which is another reason why you should help us get towards 2000.
No, beyond
2000, sorry.
Also towards.
So in this article, they're looking for the best chocolate chip cookie. So I'll just skip to the ranking.
Yeah.
So at number 1, Pat and Stick's brown butter chocolate chip cookies.
Number 1.
Yep. They retail for $6.99.
Okay.
They give them a 7 out of 10. They say pretty good stuff. Best value is Aldi's Belmont biscuits, their dark signature cookies, which are 40% chocolate chips. I don't like those chocolate chip cookies that are like, hey, we're basically chocolate with a bit of biscuit mixed in there.
Feels like too much.
Too much. Then Alina, the runners-up, Alina Bakehouse, 6 out of 10. Arnott's Premier Chocolate Chip Cookies, which is 6 out of 10. Byron Bay Cookies rank real low,
Yeah.
5 out of 10. And then surprisingly, Cadbury's chocolate chip cookies get the lowest score, 4 out of 10. I would have thought when your fucking business is chocolate, but not cookies.
Yeah.
You're fucked up. All right, that is
Okay.
TOFOP for this week. Will's doing Question Everything. You can find that on the ABC or ABC iView if you want to catch up. We have live shows coming up.
Yes.
November 30 and December 21st. We'd love to see you there. They're always great fun. We'll announce guests soon. We haven't booked anyone yet, but we get good people on. Like when we had Ed and Kirsty on. Kirsty, sorry, fuck. A couple of weeks ago. It was so great. Like the live shows, you've just got to come and experience them. If you're in Melbourne, or you can get to Melbourne, because they are, like Will said it 2 weeks ago, committee meetings. It is, we get together with all the people who know the show, know all the references, and it's very interactive, and we just love it. So come down to that Basement Comedy Club, 5 p.m, November 30 and December 21st. Anything else to plug?
Adam and Will on tour around Australia, so please come and say that.
All right, I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson.
How long? No! everyone relax.